Connection. It's very good to have each and every one of you here. We are so happy that you would have taken the time out to be with us here inside Campus Connection. And things are going on pretty well. Most of you would have gone back to school face to face, and I'm sure that you are having an amazing time interacting with your friends as you prepare even for your midterm examinations, because we heard that it's actually exam time. So we want to let you know that we do this every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. here on Love 101 FM, and it's the second Tuesday of the month. So if you joined us last week, there'll be a slight shift in programming today compared to last week's program. So before we get into the show, I just want to pause to say happy International Women's Day to all the ladies out there under the sound of my voice. Really hope that you had an amazing day, and we hope that you would have taken the time out to reflect, to rest, and to just have a good time. And for the men who are listening, and even the young men who are listening, I hope you did something special for a lady in your life. Even send her a message to tell her, how much you appreciate her in your life, right? My co-host is having a bit of technical difficulties, and so we're just waiting on her to have that sorted out. But let me pause also to tell her happy International Women's Day. So Annestta, if you're listening, happy International Women's Day to you. We have a very exciting program lined up for you this evening. So let's take a look on the timetable for today. So today we have education, news, and bulletin that will be brought to us by our student partner for the month of March. And we also have I Chose Christ, You Should Too. This week we have Honor Roll. Yes, that is a new feature that we have here inside Campus Connection. And our Honor Roll student is Damiek Chambers. She's a sixth form student at St. Catherine High and Cape Merit List awardee for 2021. So, we're talking about the top of the top type of student. And in our Let's Talk About It segment, we are going to be looking at respectability, disability matters. So that's respect, space, ability, disability matters, where we are going to look at the New Disabilities Act, impact of COVID on students who are deaf, and more. Our guest will be principal at the Danny Williams School for the Deaf, that's DWSD, Mrs. Mitchell Dillon, and Mrs. Kimberly Sherlock Marriott Blake, who is the executive director at the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. So that's going to be a very fruitful chat, and you don't want to miss that. We also have our social media talkback question, which really isn't a question but a request. So in recognition of International Women's Day, we're asking you to send us a shout-out message via our WhatsApp line 876-997-3125, or join us on Facebook or YouTube and leave your feedback in the comment section. To shout out a female friend, student, colleague, teacher, principal who you admire, use the hashtag IWD. So send your WhatsApp message to 876-999 that to take place. It seems as if my co-host is getting ready to come on board. But before that, we also have hashtag trending. And in our hashtag trending segment, we will share something that is trending in the social media space last week. So we know a lot has been happening, and we want to take some time out to talk about some of those things here inside Campus Connection, right? And if we look even on the international scene, a lot is happening. Talking about gas price, oil prices rising, the war is still going on in the Ukraine with Russia. So it's a lot that is happening at this time. And as we talk about a lot that is happening, we have education, news, and bulletin. And our student partner for the month of March is Shamar Mitchell. second year student at UMO now with major in journalism. Welcome to Campus Connection, Shemar.
Hi, welcome to Education News for March 8th here inside Campus Connection. I'm Shamar Mitchell. Full resumption of face-to-face classes commenced on Monday, March 7th. The Minister of Education and Youth, Favour Williams, said 5,000 COVID-19 self-test kits for COVID-19 have already been issued to schools and more are being acquired. Williams said schools have most recently been opened since last November. She said the Ministry of Health and Wellness would have conducted inspections in all schools, with only about 6 not being given the seal of approval for reopening. All schools are required to have sanitization stations, proper signage, and isolation areas. Although students sitting external examinations briefly returned to the classrooms, thousands of others have not had any contact with the school system since. Acting Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education and Youth, Dr. Kassan Troop, says schools with established shift systems have an additional 2 weeks to prepare for the full resumption of face-to-face classes. She said the extra time will enable the schools to work through their challenges, which include classroom shortage issues. The Jamaica Railway Corporation rolled out a new schedule for the student train service yesterday to coincide with the full resumption of face-to-face classes. The new schedule should make the service more accommodating to the targeted members of the commuting public. Students should arrive at the respective train stations at least 15 minutes before departure. The train transports students from Old Harbour and Linstead to Spanish Town, where they are transported to their respective schools via JUTC buses. The schools that will benefit from the service include Johnathan Grant High, St. Jago High, Jose Marte High, and St. Catherine High. This month, students of the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of the West Indies will be able to apply for financial assistance from the Faculty of Social Sciences Guild Committee. Spearheaded by Social Sciences representative Oma Laura Wilson, the Tiger Tuition Acceptance Grant aims to support students who face the imminent risk of being deregistered for non-payment of school fees. An estimated 200 students from the faculty are believed to have been deregistered due to non-payment of school fees last year. So far, $500,000 has been raised for the grant, with the committee aiming to reach its target of $1 million by the end of the semester. An additional sum has been set aside to purchase electronic devices for students. She said this is just one of several activities being finalized ahead of the Faculty of Social Sciences Week, which will begin on March 20th. During this week, the Guild representative aims to conduct additional fundraising for the grant and implement projects geared towards student development. It's now time for Campus Bulletin. Online educational service provider One-on-One Educational Services has partnered with the Ministry of Education and Youth to provide 10,000 high school students with free online extra lessons via its 1X personalized learning platform. President and CEO of One-on-One, Ricardo Allen, said students from grades 7 to 11 can access a wide range of educational materials on the 1X platform. The first 10,000 students to register on 1x.co/MOE will have access to on-demand content, including video courses in all subjects, 10 years of past papers, and over 40,000 questions and answers. Minister of Education and Youth, Favour Williams, said the collaboration was among several initiatives the ministry has undertaken to provide support for students who have experienced learning loss during the coronavirus pandemic. Registration for the MOEY Extra Lessons program is now open and will close once the 10,000 mark is reached. Classes began on February 28th, and students will have access to the free online content until June 24th, 2022. Interested students or parents should visit the website 1x.co/MOE to sign up. And that's all the news we have for you today inside Education News and Bulletin. Be sure to tune in next week for more news updates. I'm Shamar Mitchell.
That was Shamar Mitchell, or for Education News and Bulletin segment. Thank you so much, Shamar. And now it's time for I Chose Christ, and you should too. So stay tuned, guys.
I can truly say that I've been blessed. I've got a testimony. So I rocked and restless in Ketching High School, and indeed I've been blessed with my family and those I've encountered along my journey. I've had my bumps and scrapes, but nothing major. As I was living day by day, it became monotonous and mundane, and much of it a waste. After attending church for a couple years with no real intention of searching for God, I started becoming serious about life. My spirit was dry and my longing deep that no entertainment could relieve. So one day, after many church meetings, I finally made my decision to give my all to God by a powerful call through one of my church leaders. Ever since, I've asked him to prepare me to be sanctuary. But quite honestly, I found that God was worth living for after all. So I came to God using the two ways I mainly utilize in making decisions. One, the logical and moral perspective, and two, the emotional perspective. So all that the word speaks against are other things I agree are bad, and all that the word says is good are things that I agree with as well. And the word gives an account of creation by which I can know my history, unlike the world, which says that I'm just a mistake or a coincidence. In the word, I'm a masterpiece, intentionally crafted and manufactured with an ingrained purpose here, along with the knowledge that there is a life that can be gained in the hereafter as well. So it answers my question on life's meaning and compels me to be different. And it guides me into my life's purpose that is just real, necessary, and satisfactory. Indeed, his words alone makes me know that I am a promise to be anything he wants me to be. That's why I choose Christ, and why you should too.
All right, all right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hi, Johnathan.
Hi, Annestta. Please don't leave me again. Thank you. Happy International Women's Day.
Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And happy International Women's Day to all the women out there, young and old and in between. Happy
That's right.
International Women's Day. But that was an awesome. I'm not sure, was that like a poetry piece, or was that just her raw testimony? Because if that was her
That
raw,
sounded like poetry. I was ready
yeah,
to
right.
snap. I was ready to.
But that was really good and so very powerful. Thank you so much, Rox. And she is an upper sixth form student and ICF president at the St. Catherine High School. So, Jonathan, what do we have coming up next for us?
All right, so we're switching gears just a bit. Love 101 admires hard work and resilience, and we choose to acknowledge outstanding academic performances varying from school to school. Campus Connection aims to highlight students who are going above and beyond from enlarged different levels of education.
So we actually believe that Picnic for Bright Light
Yeah,
Diamond. and
Yeah.
then to skill like machine. So all of you out there that know this, you fall in this category, this is for you. We also believe the older the moon, the brighter it shines. Welcome to the segment of the show where we choose to highlight the bright sparks among us. You know them bright spark there? Some of you are actually those bright sparks among us. And this is how we choose to honor excellence. This is honor roll. Drum roll.
Yeah. Our honorable student for today is Damiek Chambers. She's a sixth form student at the St. Catherine High and Cape Merit List Awardee. I hope I got that right. For
Wow.
2021. She's
Mhm.
also a member of Ski
Yes.
Club and the Honor Roll Society at her school. So it's not just academic, she's also involved in extracurricular activities. Welcome to Honor Roll, Damiek.
Woot woot. Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So
Amazing,
Demi,
amazing.
tell us, or share with us how you felt when you received your CAPE results. How did you feel?
Well, first and foremost, I was excited. I was
Hmm.
elated, beaming with joy because I know what I am capable of and I am a class
Okay.
student. And as such, when I saw those grades, I'm telling you, I was beyond proud because I'm proud of myself, really and truly.
Wow, wow.
Nice, nice. So, for as long as you can remember yourself, have you always been an A student?
Hmm?
Always, I would want more. So at the age, my mother would always tell me that not even herself taught me to read. It was something that I did on my own, self-taught. So normally, you have parents teaching their child to read and all of that. I was the one to just take up the book and I just learned
Hmm.
everything on my own. So that's where I knew that I am a star. I'm going to make it. I'll be as big as I can.
Wow. The confidence is
Yeah.
buzzing. The confidence is buzzing. But okay, so I heard you say you actually taught yourself how to read. So what exactly would you say is one of the disciplines or that you had to employ in order to be this A class student?
I would say determination and perseverance. Those two are like the main components for me because in order to achieve or be at a level that you want to be, you have to be determined. And you know
Mhm.
that you have to fail in order to be successful. So you can't just say that, okay, I failed at something, I'm up. No. You use that failure as a lesson to you so that you can push onward to higher heights.
Mm.
Makes
All
sense,
right.
makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. So, question I will ask you: do you think a good home filled with love, attention, affirmations, and even both parents would be a conducive environment to children as relates to their academic performance, or is it a thing where the child has to make a decision whether or not they have that type of environment to succeed?
Mm. That's a really good question, Jonathan. That's a that's a really good question. But
I would think that having a loving, affectionate family members,
Mhm.
affectionate family members, having a strong family background, I think is one of the key components in a child being successful at academics. I would want to believe that, it's not all the time students come from homes where maybe their parents were not as bright or that case, and they choose to excel and they put their mind, they go above and beyond. But in that same category as well, having a good family background, because at the end of the day you want something to motivate you, you want someone to motivate you, you need the love. So as
goes back to speaking on failure. You don't want to fail and then you feel demotivated, and then you don't have anyone to push you and say, okay, Damiek, you need to get up, use this L and make it a W and continue and push forward.
Wow. That's awesome. And I think definitely there are some young people who are listening this who can definitely identify and agree with what you're saying. So based on what you've told us so far, Damiek, it sounds like you're the typical A student bright spark, but I do still have to ask you this question. Have you ever swatted for an exam before? And I want you to talk the truth now, because we need to know. Do you just always go home? Do you homework, study, do all these things, or have you ever just say, you know what? I'm gonna chill today, and then the night before the exam, that's when I'm gonna study. Have you ever had that?
Honestly, I am not the perfect A student. I procrastinate at times. I'm being honest right there. Yes, I have swatted before many times to add, but I don't make it a habit. So now that I have CAPE exams coming up, this is basically I have like what 2.5 months or less at the St. Catherine High School. So CAPE is a big exam, external and everything. So you know that I have to study, manage my time, make my timetable, and go through it all. But if it's just a normal test, a normal 6 weeks test, I will not lie to you. I will swat if necessary. But as I said, make it a habit. Because so many times cramming is not healthy. Because as you reach the exam and you start to put pen to paper, you're trying to write. Majority of the times, you crammed is lost.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for that bit of advice there. And to all the last minute people, you procrastinate, and then the night before the exam is when you want to try to study. We want to encourage you right here on Campus Connection. No, do it. Don't do it.
Study your book.
But yes, as many of you can really hear, we're having some technical difficulties from Damiek's end, but we trust that you are listening along with us. Johnathan, do you have any more questions for Damiek before we go?
All right, Damiek, I have one last question for you. So tell us about your teacher's dedication and drive to your academic performance.
Hmm. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Johnathan always pulls out the hard ones.
So what kind of
And
things would your
unfortunately, I
teacher
would have
do?
to ask him
Mhm.
to repeat because I lost him right at the question.
Oh my. So I was asking you, what
Pardon?
kind of things do your teacher does a teacher do to help you in your academic pursuits?
Well, motivate me, that's the very first thing. Every teacher that I've encountered with for the past 7 years, they see potential, they know potential, and at the end of the day, I am that student for them where they tend to give quality time. I won't say that to say that they don't for the others, but from a teacher or has you in high esteem, you live up to that. Also, they try to make themselves available because I am annoying student, because I like to get the work done and I like to see the grades that are pleasing to me, and I like to ask for help where I feel lost. So those are the strategies
Mm.
that the teachers use to help me to be a student at good academic excellence.
All right. Thank you so much, Damiek, for taking the time out to speak with us this evening here inside On a Roll on Campus Connection. And we wish you all the best in your future academic
Could I give
pursuits.
a shout out?
Pardon me?
I'm asking, could I give a shout out before I
Of
leave?
course. Go big up your people, man. Go ahead.
First and foremost, I would like to say because he sent in high school, my high school,
right.
and hard work conquers all. The vice principal, the principal, the teachers, my classmates, my friends. I can't really list out all the teachers' names because that is like speaking on everyone else. So I just want to say big up.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Damiek. Thank you so much. It's just amazing how how being a Merle Grove High School past student myself, um we have a similar school motto, Labor Omnia Vincit, which means hard work overcomes all difficulties, or hard work overcomes all. So yeah, big up St. Catherine just by virtue of the fact that you share my school motto. But yes, it was so good having you on, Damiek. It was so good having you on. So Johnathan,
Yes, talk to
International
me.
Women's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And Damiek shared, we had Damiek, she's a woman in her own right, sharing about her accomplishments. And it's time for us now to remind the listeners about our social talk back. What's up with that?
All right. So, guys, please send your messages to 876-997-3125 or join us on our Facebook or YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica and leave your feedback in the comment section. So, we want you to big up your teacher, your female teacher, female friend, female
Mm-hmm.
student, female principal, any female that you admire. You can use the hashtag IWD. So send it to 876-997-3125 via WhatsApp, or you can jump on our socials. We're live right now on Facebook and on YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. So that was on a roll, and now we have our Let's Talk About It segment coming
Mm-hmm.
up, where we are going to take a look at respectability, disability matters.
It sure does. How fitting for us to touch that topic today, being that it's International Women's Day and we're
Yeah.
under the theme Break the Bias, hashtag
Mhm.
Break the Bias. And that's exactly what we want to do, especially for our students who are particularly deaf.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We will take a break right here on Campus Connection. And when we get back, we head straight into our Let's Talk About It segment, as well as take your hashtag IWD big ups and look at our hashtag trending topic.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I did a crazy attack. You see me means a real G, real go-getter. My life move non-stop. So me have to stay link and floor yard and road. And my connect and one plan link me up at home with Wi-Fi and on my mobile with data and calls to any network. At my yard, non-stop streaming my vibes. I studying for my picnic them and out the road. And non-stop vibes, same way. Flow connect me non-stop for as little as $3,999 a month plus GCT. I forget it. Visit discoverflow.co. Conditions apply.
Rio Grande to the South Coast. Hotel workers and man wear off boat. This a for the craft vendors, red cap porters and transportation at airport. Jamaica tourism pension plan, building towards the future. For tourism workers across the island, retirement benefits to contributions. Every worker in the industry, permanent self-employed contract. For your service you deserve security. Yes you do. Tourism workers pension plan, build a bright future. Yes you can. Tourism workers pension plan, workers invest through contribution. All tourism workers, age 80 to 59. Tourism workers pension plan.
Start making your contributions for a brighter future.
For further information, visit mot.gov.jm or call 876-920-4926 for 30.
So what you doing for Lent?
Grace a fish for Lent, so is that me doing? Me can't eat healthier, and me don't have to scale one fish. They make all the fish I want in different flavor and style. Plus, canned fish more reasonable.
Attention shoppers! Buy Grace Mackerel, Grace Sardines, and Grace Tuna. It's the healthy, easier, and more affordable choice for Lent.
Hold my spot in the line. I'm gonna pick up some more Grace Mackerel and Grace Sardine, yeah?
Grace has your fish for Lent. Value deals in participating stores.
This a line from Lucy. It's a Grace Mackerel of female #1 from the start. Me and it will never part.
If one thing me love about Grace Mackerel is that the sauce rich in quality. Trish from Papine said that.
Grace Mackerel is the only one in my book that goes with anything. Take it from me, Maureen in Havendale.
Grace Mackerel is the only one where all when it's stretched, it's still full of flavor. Tell them blacks are Lionel Town says so.
Grace Mackerel is the one and only winner.
Celebrating 100 years of Grace Kennedy.
Grace Mackerel, you're my #1. Like love you, yeah.
Time by Grace Mackerel is.
Okay. Where are the campus eyes? Students are struck up in a prize.
All right.
Oh.
Welcome back to Campus Connection. I am Johnathan Fletcher, and with me is your co-host and my co-host, Annestta Samuels. So it's time to get into our Let's Talk About It segment. Today it's all about respect, pause, ability, disability matters. So that's respect, ability, disability matters.
And our guests for this evening are, she's the principal of the Danny Williams School for the Deaf, Mrs. Mitchell Dillon. And we also have Mrs. Kimberly Sherlock Marriott Blake. She's the executive director at the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. Welcome, ladies, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Hi. How was Women's Day for you, or how has it been, rather?
Well, in true Women's Day style, I'm now trying to balance making sure this interview is a one, while also making sure that my little one does not get himself into too much mistake.
This is strength of a woman.
Breaking the bias and balancing. That's what we're out here doing.
That's right.
All right. And we're told that Mrs. Kimberly Sherlock Marriott Blake will be joining us in a few, so we look out for her as well.
Actually,
I'm so sorry.
I think Dylan is not enough.
Right. Mrs. Mitchell Dillon. I'm so sorry.
Right.
But we want to thank you so much for all that you do working within the deaf community. And we want to, first of all, ask you, being that, you're celebrating International Women's Day, what would you say is one thing that you celebrate about working within the deaf community?
Oh, wow. So it's interesting when you begin to compare what you think a community is, or who you think a community is, and just who a community or what a community really is. And I say who a community is because the deaf community, like any other community, is really just built up based on the people around. And you do see a lot of strong women in the community. Today, we celebrated the fact that all the schools for the deaf across the island are headed by women. There are, 11 schools across the island, schools and units, 7 of which are managed by JAD, and all of those schools are managed by women. And you do see very strong women, very strong efforts coming out in the community. There is the saying that women generally take up these social service-like spaces. So I guess some would say it's not surprising, but it is just reassuring to know that there are other women out there with a vested interest to have the community flourish. And knowing too that there are men who are supporting these women on their journey to have the communities flourish, the communities that we serve flourish.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. But question though, from where you sit, do you think that those persons with disabilities are treated unfairly in the Jamaican society?
I'm going to be honest. I think part of the difficulty is that most people don't even recognize someone with a disability. There's some disabilities that are visible and overt. You see them and you know they're there. Someone who has a wheelchair, someone who uses a cane. But then the invisible disabilities like being deaf. And until you get to the point of communication, you don't even notice that this person is deaf. You don't recognize that this person would require an interpreter or some additional communication support. So for me, it's not necessarily that we are at the point that we can say that we are not discriminating against persons with disabilities. I think that would be a lie. But I do also think that the challenge is we may not recognize how many persons with disabilities are out there until there is an interaction that encourages or kind of puts you squarely in a situation where you do need to provide support or get that support with communication. So in our case, you would completely not realize someone who's deaf until you're required now to engage in conversation, and that's when you're like all kinds of weird gestures trying to figure out how to support. But the difficulty comes in where someone does recognize this person is deaf, and the response that comes from that is a very unhappy facial expression, the body language that says, Lord, I don't want to have to engage in this conversation at all. And so that's where that discrimination begins to kind of show where its ugly head. And there are things that we can do as individuals to ensure that we're not putting that negative perception out there when you are faced with a situation where you do need to engage with somebody who has a disability.
Nice.
Amen. I mean, it's awesome the work that you are doing, and we just want to pause to acknowledge even Mrs. Mitchell Dillon, who has just joined us. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for even all that you do within the deaf community. We actually wanted to find out from you, what has the Jamaica Association for the Deaf been doing within the deaf community, especially within recent years. Even you might even want to speak to this pandemic in particular, but what are some of the things that your association has been doing?
Okay, well, that's for me, right?
Yes.
All right. The Jamaica Association for the Deaf, we do have a very close relationship. We all see ourselves as a family.
Nice.
So we are always communicating with each other. The association has always been supportive to the staff, to the students, to our parents, and they have come on board during the pandemic when we needed tablets for students, and they have assisted with that in getting some tablets for us, and also other resources, training sessions, because being online, we have to think of different ways in which we can communicate and bring across the lessons to our students. It was very challenging at first, but they have provided support where that is concerned. So we are very grateful to have them as being the parent to us and being supportive to us.
Okay.
Just to give some context, so JAD as an organization, because we're managing different schools, Danny Williams School is one of our schools. And I will say this, that when it came to the pandemic and trying to, Dylan mentioned figuring out online learning, the team at Danny Williams was just so ready. Our schools across the island they were so ready, because our educators are truly invested in having our kids succeed. And knowing as a teacher, as a principal, that how many kids you see are out there that are in my school registered as my students that are not learning, no, this can't work.
Yeah.
And that relationship, as she mentioned, that relationship, this is what we need. These are the gaps that we have. These are the challenges we're dealing with. they were so helpful in sharing that information, even when we're very annoying, sharing the information so that we could help to get the resources, and then, you know, also sharing with us how the kids are doing. And it was an interesting, felt like eternity to years.
It was an interesting journey.
But we've really seen, and I think we've seen how we can better support our students in this blended approach. And I mean, now I feel like we are definitely stronger and more able, you know, better prepared to help our students navigate the post-COVID. I'm going to keep singing on a post-COVID because with faith.
Yes, with faith. With faith, indeed.
Post-COVID.
All right. Mrs. Dillon, based on your experience in running the organization that you are the head of, what type of implications have you observed amongst even your students as relates to COVID and how it has affected the way we do life?
Mm-hmm. Well, online learning was very challenging for our students to adjust to. I must commend our parents as well, because, you know, being our students are visual learners, so it was challenging to get them to focus online and to ensure that they are participating in the lessons and so on. But our parents were there. They were very supportive. They were like shadows for the students and so on. So making that adjustment, we had to take the time to educate them about COVID and what is happening, because, you know, when it comes on to explaining to our students using the Jamaican Sign Language, we have to break it down so that they will fully understand, right? So that adjustment, I see, was it took some time, but our staff were able to create the necessary materials so that they will be able to understand what is happening around them. So when they see somebody wearing a mask outside, they know why they are wearing the mask, why they need to wear the mask, how to protect themselves as well when they are outside or even inside the home, you know, what to do and so on. So that was something that we realized that we really had to take the time out to do with our students.
Wow, and I must commend you, because I can't even begin to imagine how difficult online school is, full stop. But online school now for a school with deaf students.
Right.
Sorry, I really have to give you a round of applause for that. But let's go ahead and look on the Disabilities Act as of February 14, 2022. So the Minister of Labour and Social Security declared the implementation of the Disabilities Act, which was passed in 2014. The regulation comprises of 15 provisions that is designed to safeguard and enhance the welfare of persons with disabilities across Jamaica. These include, but are not limited to, the provision of a disability certificate, the right to education and training, the right to employment, the right to adequate health care, and accessible facilities. So the real question is right now is, do you think the 7-year hold up to implement the act, which was passed under the previous administration, was necessary? And Mrs. Blake, you can go ahead and answer that one.
That is also a very complicated question, and I say that because just a general perspective on how policy turns to law and law turns to action, right? Now you put the act in place, and you know, you're putting all the bits and pieces together, and you say, all right, law is law, but regulations have teeth. And I'll be honest, what took a longer period of time was the preparation of the regulations. Why? I'll admit I was a part of the team who gave feedback when regulations were being prepared it has a lot of stakeholder engagement and get the right consultants to support, because you don't want it to be that one single NGO is the one that's preparing the regulations. It can't be government that's preparing the regulations, because it should be an unbiased, someone who is able to see from different perspectives. Let's look at it that way, making sure that it's someone who's a little bit outside of the square, but still very much a part of. We identifying a consultant from overseas meant that they probably weren't culturally aware. So many of the things that make us who we are as Jamaicans, they would not be able to appreciate, or legislative structures, they would not be able to appreciate. So it took some time. I will admit it took longer than many of us in the sector had desired, but I feel a bit more settled now, knowing that what we have as regulation is what we have as regulation. Where my worry is whether or not we are fully prepared to embrace the fact that there is a 2-year period to get the act together of the state parties, private and public sector. I'm worried that we're not prepared to make things happen in that 2-year period. I'm worried that the impact of COVID may cause some organizations to have reduced funds to be able to really make the modifications they need to make, and then that will become a reason why we continue to have a lack of accessibility. And then when we think about accessibility, we assume it's a ramp. It's not necessarily the case. In our schools, for example, it's the open spaces, it's ensuring that there's a light and sound alarm, it's ensuring that the environment is such that it ensures a person who is deaf is not disadvantaged. And I mean, that's part of the benefit of sending your child to school for the deaf, if that's the space that they need. And that's something to think about too. In that 2-year period, it means that as parents, as stakeholders in our environment, we need to step up to the plate and have that discussion about, am I doing the right thing by my child who may need a special service? Because there is that requirement as a parent. There is that requirement even through our Child Care and Protection Act, which ties into the Disability Act, as to what are you providing as the appropriate environment for a child to learn, and for a young person to thrive in training, for someone to be able to access employment. Throwing our children into a mainstream school because it's a little easier, or it helps to hide the fact that they are obviously not functioning, is something that we're going to have to do away with. And it does mean that in this 2-year period, it's time to figure some stuff out so that we are in a better position to ensure that the people who, when we talk about out of many one people, we're talking everybody. There's no segregation with out of many one people. And so whatever is provided for one is to be provided for many and for all. And so ensuring that equal access is going to be really critical in this 2-year period. But are we fully prepared to make that happen? That's where we might see a bit of a hold up going forward.
Okay. Wow. That I didn't realize it was that complicated to implement change. But thank you so much for just sharing that with us. I know our listeners are learning along with us even as you're sharing. This final question really is for Mrs. Dillon. What can you say are some of the new things that's happening, especially within the school there? What are some of the new challenges, new opportunities? What's new?
All right. Well, what's new? We're the use of technology in the classroom now that we have our students with tablets. They're able to use that as a part of their learning as well. They are learning computer skills. They are learning how to use various apps. We ensure that we educate them on how to use and interact the learning tools that's available, and that the students and teachers use in that process. So that has been something that's exciting.
Nice.
Students, they really enjoy it. And we can see how it has benefited our students, because as I said before, with their visual learners, so whatever we do, we have to ensure that we are providing for them visually using whether it's pictures or videos. That way they are able to fully grasp the content.
Nice. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for making it Campus Connection. And that was, of course, the principal at the Danny Williams School for the Deaf, Mrs. Mitchell Dillon. And we had also Mrs. Kimberly Sherlock Marriott, Blake, Executive Director at the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. Two very powerful women doing amazing things within the deaf community. Any final word?
Yes.
Mrs. Blake or Miss? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. I would just like to use the opportunity to, invite you all. We are on a fundraising campaign at the moment. We are trying to raise $3 million to fix our heat retaining roof. It's leaky. And we're asking all of Jamaica to help us to reach our goal. Our anchor in the donation is the Honorable Danny Williams. And we would like everyone to just support us. The heat is affecting the learning in the classrooms, especially coming to the summertime. Sometimes we have to go on the outside because it's really, really hot on the inside. So we're just asking the public to just join on the Amber Fund Me site, and you can get more information there about our situation and also to assist with our donation, with donating.
Okay.
My final words would be, I mean, if I didn't say it, I would have mentioned that roof. But just also note, I want to, as a call out to parents and even to students, we may not really realize it, but our headphones culture can be affecting our hearing. Hearing loss is not something that is specific to old age. Yes. Removal of the headphones, but it's something that we may not take as seriously as we need to. We don't necessarily appreciate. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten a bit of a, I'm gonna say a reprieve. We haven't had church conventions in the way that we're accustomed to. We haven't had events and parties and that kind of a thing. So our hearing has gotten, we're gonna say, a little bit of a break. Somewhat. But then at the same time, we have become a lot more in tune with headphones and using those, and it can impact your hearing. But parents who are beginning to realize you have to talk a little louder. Sometimes it's not 7 them 7. Sometimes the child is truly not hearing you. And I have a little one I'm seeing where he will push anything in his ear if he gets the chance. It's not an indication of bad parenting. It's not an indication of inability to function as a parent. Is not necessarily always an indication of poor health. Sometimes there's just an incident and it can impact your hearing, and we really are encouraging, or young people in particular, to test your hearing, or parents to test the hearing of their little ones in the same way that we will check out the dentist, we test our eyes, we go to the doctor, test your hearing, and Jaden can help in providing that. And in the event that there is support needed for amplification or protection, even that your child needs to be placed in a school for the deaf, Danny Williams is prepared to help your little ones thrive, and our other schools for the deaf under the Jaden family are prepared to help your little ones thrive. We are doing the national assessments like any other school, and so we don't want parents to worry that they're not going to be able to give their child the equal opportunity to education.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And again, that was two powerful women championing the cause within the deaf community, and we thank them so much for being a part of today's show, Campus Connection. All right, now it's time to go right into our hashtag trending / social media talkback question. So for hashtag trending, we'll be looking on hashtag Delano Tucker, hashtag Guys Hill High, hashtag Help for Delano.
Now, for those who don't know, Delano Tucker is a sixth form student at the Guys Hill High School in St. Catherine, and he has attained 9 CSEC subjects, became a social media star, a YouTube. There's a YouTube video that he did where he showed himself living in a desperate condition, and it went viral, his living conditions, and Now he lives with his siblings and his parents and is the recipient of not only a better house, but greater opportunities to improve his family's standard of living.
So
Go
whilst
Delano, woo!
big up, big up, big up. Whilst there are some controversies being generated around the true intent of persons' donations, especially a government minister and also over 10 different Instagram accounts being registered under the name Delano Tucker, Delano has received numerous financial donations from former world record holder Asafa Powell and his university fee being paid forward by opposition leader Mark Golding. So,
Wow.
Nesta, tell me now, when you watched
Mhm.
that video, how did it feel? Did you watch the video?
No, I did not.
What are you living under a rock?
I,
What's going
I
on?
I haven't watched it yet, but just hearing the story of Delano, this he is coming from some extreme circumstances,
Mhm.
and just the way that we have responded to his need. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Trust me, I watched the video and my heart, the strings of my heart
The
were
strings of your
really, yeah, man, they were played upon. When I saw the sheer determination that this young man has,
Right, right,
he literally is the definition of against all odds, right?
right.
I mean, we read a while ago in his little profile the amount of CXC subjects that he would have been able to gain
Mhm.
whilst living in that type of condition. So, Delano, if you are listening to this, or if somebody that you know is listening to this, big up
Right.
yourself, my boss. All the best for the future. Thank God for social media.
Yeah.
That you were able to get the help that you need, and that you are going to university free of cost.
Yes, that
Hello.
is awesome. That is awesome. And the thing about it too is that earlier we had Damiek and she was sharing about, just some of the conditions that she thinks is ideal for a successful academic life. And here we have a story of Delano now who
Mhm.
his conditions definitely are not ideal, but still you see this determination, this drive, you see this level of
Yeah.
success, and it just goes to show it's really not about where you're from. It just comes back to that resolve. And I'm sure many persons would not readily acknowledge, but I'm sure that God would have had a hand in all of
Oh
this
yes.
operation,
Oh yes.
because without him we just couldn't do this. We couldn't do
Some
this.
somebody say hitherto, hitherto. Glory to God.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. So that was hashtag trending. No, but let's go back to our social media talk back question, or request rather, where we ask persons to send in shout outs to different women that they admire. So if we, Madam Producer, I don't know if we have any voice notes from the studio. All right. So we're okay. All right. So I guess you guys are writing your paragraphs in the meantime. So that's
Right, right,
fine. That's
right.
okay. We understand. But let me pause though to big up all the women in my life. Big up my co-host. Right. I can't do this without her. I don't know. Big up my
That's
mother.
me.
I think she's listening. So mommy, if you're listening, big up yourself. Big up all my friends. Big up my pastor. Big up my
Wow.
preschool teacher who said to me that she listened to me last week. Big up yourself. May say have anybody that you want to big up.
Absolutely. Okay, don't let me start. Don't let me start. All right. So there is, of course, my mom who just has been the hero or the champion in my life.
Mhm.
I'm talking about my grandma as well. I'd like to shout her out. You go through those periods of high school where you just have to go and see grandma.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go and live with grandma for a period, and those were, just that she just created that environment where I was just able to focus on school,
Mhm.
because it really wasn't easy. So all of my family members and of course my pastor too is a woman,
Yeah.
Apostle Mary Banks. big up and happy International Women's Day to all of you and our lovely listeners wherever you are. And we just want to say happy International Women's Day to you as well.
All right, and that is how we put a wrap on this week's episode inside Campus Connection. Want to say thank you for making it Love 101 your station of choice. A big thanks to Shamar Mitchell, who shared and will continue to share the news for the month of March. Thanks to Roxanne, who shared her testimony inside I Chose Christ, You Should Too. And we also want to thank Damiek Chambers, our honor roll guest, continue to set the standards and raise the bar.
Yes. And how could we forget to say thank you and happy International Women's Day to our producer, Madam Producer Tony K. Bromfield. Happy International Women's Day to you. And even to those who are right now in the comments, I'm seeing Andrea Blackburn, Monique Ferguson, Jada, all of you,
yourself.
all of you ladies who are in the comments just shouting us out and sending your love. Happy International Women's Day to you. And thank you so much, of course, to Timoy Butler, who is our technical support, always here, always on standby, and to Mr. Jermaine Johnson for his continued assistance. We want to say thanks to our main segment guests from the Danny Williams School for the Deaf and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf as well. Thank you to everyone who came on the show, who was a part of making this a very special Women's Day episode.
That's right. And we just want to leave you with this campus study tip. So switch it up. Taking too much time on one subject can make you lose your concentration. One of the most important study tips for college exams is to change topics every 30 minutes or to prevent learning fatigue. Revisit challenging topics once you have given your brain a break. So guys, switch it up. And until next time, this has been Campus Connection. Remember to live set apart. Always choose to evolve. I am Johnathan.
And I'm Annestta.
Big up yourself, guys.
Bye,
next
guys.
week.
See you next week.
Rio Grande to the South Coast. Hotel workers and man wear off boat. This a for the craft vendors, red cap porters and transportation at airport.